On the previous episode of Kemetic Tales,
Or Heru first battled with his uncle Set, they actually entered into a contest. And this contest was about their level of skill, intellect, whether or not they can endure battle, magic. So the first couple of battles between Heru and his uncle Set, Heru was actually winning, y'all. And his uncle Set started to fear that he was going to continue to lose. Let's go to the good life, gotta live it. No time to cry over still one. You gotta keep that energy and your destiny gonna line. Hey y'all, welcome back. So last week we left off, if y'all seen the preview from last episode, if you have not watched from the beginning, go back and watch from the beginning because you need to know all of these stories, okay? So we previously left off with the god Heru and the god Set in battle. The god Heru ends up winning the battle, taking over his kingship in ancient Kemet, upper and lower Egypt, ancient Egypt, and or you could call it Kemet, whichever one rolls off your tongue the easiest. And we talked about the god Set in his new position after battling the god Heru. We supposed to be talking about the goddess Nephthys, or you could call her Nephthys, is her Greek name, and her role in Kemetic spirituality. The god Nephthys is the sister of Asar, Set, and Isis. She was the fourth born child of the goddess Nut and the god Neb. And yes, her name is Nut because a lot of people be calling her Nut is Nut. But this is the goddess Iset. As you can see, she represents the magician. So these particular sisters, they kind of like twins, even though they're not really twins. When you see them, they look like twins except for what they have on their head. She has this basket on her head because it represents the lady of the house. Now, she actually became married to her brother, the god Set. And the thing with the god Set, it was called because he was the god over the barren desert land. They called him infertile, which means that he couldn't necessarily have children. And the goddess Nephthys wanted to have kids, right? So here comes the drama once again. The goddess Nephthys, desiring to have children and knowing that she can't have children by her husband, the god Set. And this is another reason why in the first episode, you guys seen the god Set all mad and jealous of his brother because it seemed like his brother had everything going his way, and the god Set didn't really have all this stuff going for him, right? The goddess Nephthys decides that she's going to disguise herself as her sister, the goddess Iset, because they already look like twins, and she goes in and I think Asar was like kind of at a party or he had been drinking. She comes in with additional wine. She gets the god Asar even more inebriated, disguising herself as her sister, the goddess Iset, and she lures the god Asar into her bedroom. Scandalous. Kind of like David and Bathsheba, right? Well, in this particular instance, the goddess Nephthys would have been David, because David was the sneaky one in the Bible, right? He know he ain't had no business messing with that man's wife, who was his homeboy, who he was the leader over inside this battle inside of the Bible. But that was scandalous what David did. And then try to send the man back out to get killed in battle. Anyway, this particular night, she got Asar towed up, led him to her bed, and she ended up getting pregnant by the god Asar. And yes, this is prior to the goddess Iset actually becoming pregnant with Heru that you guys learned in the previous story. So Nephthys actually ended up pregnant and having her baby prior to Iset. Remember, the god Set was actually mad about what all the stuff that his brother Asar already had, becoming the king of the ancient Nile Valley and him being over the barren land. So this particular night, when Asar was lured into her bedroom, there was like some type of party, like I said, going on. And back in those days in ancient Kemet, they used to wear these particular flowers on them during so-called rituals and ceremonies. So when the god Asar ended up leaving Nephthys' bedroom, he ended up dropping some of these flowers off of his body, in which the god Set seen them on the floor and knew that his brother Asar had been in his wife's bed. This is what made Set previously upset with his brother and wanted to pretty much end his life. And not only that, adultery was not tolerated in ancient Kemet. No, it was. And they did have prenuptial agreements in ancient Egypt, just to let y'all know, because everybody try to look at that in the African American eccentric community and say, oh, you know, polyamory and polyamorous relationship. No, baby, a woman could actually have a prenuptial agreement and take everything that he had, even back in those days. I'ma just throw that out there. Anyhow, the goddess Nephthys, now being pregnant by the god Asar, she ends up giving birth to the god Anpu, okay, or you could call him Anubis. Anubis is his Greek name, Anpu is his African name. So now she's pregnant. Of course, she don't want the god Set to find out that she been cheating, because we already know that the god Set can't have kids. So how was you pregnant, friend? She ends up going out into the wilderness, pregnant with the god Anpu, and she actually takes him and she discards him out in the wilderness. The baby Anpu, now discarded out in the wilderness, is actually found by the goddess Aset, in which she kind of raised him or become like his nurse mom. And this didn't actually create any type of negativity between the goddess Aset and the goddess Nephthys as well. At this point, the god Anpu is already born. Yes, he's born prior to Heru. This is where, Set comes in. He unalives Asar. Now, coming into her position, the goddess Nephthys ends up showing up for her sister, taking pity on her sister and what's going on. She knows she already got a son by Asar. They ain't beefing or nothing. She comes in and help Aset bring Asar back to life, back to the living, put all his missing pieces back together. And at this point, Nephthys is kind of looked at as the divine mother of all pharaohs, because she actually assisted Aset in first raising baby Heru, kind of became like his nurse as well, and bringing the god Asar back to the living prior to him going to the underworld, of course. So the goddess Nephthys pretty much becomes like the divine mother of all the pharaohs. This is where you kind of see the goddess Nephthys kind of similar to Aset, as well as the goddess Ma'at, in which she has like those wings on her. So she was called the winged goddess, the divine mother of all pharaohs. She became the goddess that was the protectress or the protector of all mothers, nursing mothers, children, the goddess over burial, over coffins, over the dead. She was the goddess of, remember I showed y'all this basket made her, this is kind of to represent her being the lady of the house, not the house per se, but she was a protector over the home as well. And she was also the goddess of air. Now, back to the goddess Aset and the goddess Nephthys, kind of looking like twins. Remember when they both went together and they put the god Asar back together, and he rose from being dead or whatever. Now, remember the story in the Bible where you got both of the Marys, the Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene. They were the ones who went to Jesus's burial site and the stone became rolled away. This is where you see the goddess Nephthys and Aset kind of representing those twins of both of the Marys, because in Kemetic spirituality or in ancient Kemet, they use the word Mary means beloved, right? You could say Ta Mary or Mary means beloved. These two were the two Marys. These were the two Marys that was at his so-called burial site when you think about the god Asar. I was going to give y'all that as homework, but this our last video of 2022. So I'm just going to tell y'all, okay? With that being said, the goddess Nephthys also becomes the protector of the so-called Bennu bird in Kemetic spirituality. It's just a bird that kind of represents the rising phoenix, being resurrected or reincarnation, if you want to think about that, kind of the Bennu bird. Nephthys also becomes the goddess who had the spells in order for those who went into the underworld after leaving this physical realm, right? She is the one who has the spells in order to help them to travel to the underworld in order to meet up with the god Asar. And you guys can kind of find that in the Book of the Dead. If you guys are looking for books to read to help you as well, you can find that in the Book of the Dead concerning the goddess Nephthys as well as Asar. And she becomes the goddess of the night. She's the one who becomes the protector of, when I said coffins, you can see her being represented as well as the goddess Aset on the four corners of each coffin. Now, this is the last video for 2022. However, when we come back in 2023, I'll be saying Happy New Year. Hopefully you guys enjoy your break. And we'll be talking about the god Ra, the god Tahuti, and eventually we'll get to Sekhmet, but her story comes down the line. But I love y'all. I hope y'all enjoy your Christmas, your New Year, and I'll see y'all in 2023.